Some movies give you characters, some give you stories. But Tokyo Drift gave us something different. It gave us a love letter to driving. And buried in those underground parking garages and neon-lit mountain passes are 5 cars, so iconic, so perfectly chosen, that they made an entire generation want to learn how to drive sideways. Let's get into it. Number 1, 1997 Mazda RX-7 Veilside Fortune. Han's Orange Monster. If there is one car from Tokyo Drift that lives rent-free in every car enthusiast's head, it's this one. Han Lu's 1997 Mazda RX-7 wrapped in that unmistakable orange and black Veilside Fortune widebody kit. And before we even talk about what's under the hood, let's just acknowledge what this car did visually. It didn't look like a movie prop. It looked like something a surgeon built in a dream. The Veilside Fortune body kit transformed the already stunning FD 3S chassis into something bordering on sculpture. Wider fenders, aggressive front fascia, a rear wing that meant business. Every line on that car looked intentional. And the orange? It wasn't flashy for the sake of flashy. On Han, a character defined by cool effortlessness, that color said everything. Loud car, quiet driver, perfect contrast. But here's what the film never fully lets you appreciate. The RX-7 FD is a genuinely extraordinary machine underneath all that visual drama. The 13 BREW rotary engine, twin turbocharged sequential setup, produced around 276 horsepower from just 1.3 liters of displacement. For context, that's an engine the size of a large coffee maker spinning out supercar adjacent power. The rotary doesn't pull like a conventional engine either. It builds and builds and keeps building in a way that feels almost electric. It's intoxicating. The chassis was equally special. Near perfect 50-50 weight distribution, double wishbone suspension all around, and a body so aerodynamically refined it cut through air, like it was apologizing for existing. This was Mazda's Halo car, their answer to the Supra and the NSX, and it absolutely belonged in that conversation. The reason Han's RX-7 works so well as a character car is that it mirrors him perfectly. Technically sophisticated, aesthetically peerless, and carrying a depth that most people around it don't fully understand until it's too late. That car didn't just appear in Tokyo Drift, it defined it. Number 2, 2001 Nissan Silvia S15. Han called it the Mona Lisa, and then Sean Boswell totaled it. Within the first 20 minutes of meeting the man, that moment still stings. The S15 Silvia is one of those cars that enthusiasts outside of North America have been obsessing over for decades, while Americans could only watch from a distance, since Nissan never officially brought it stateside, which makes its appearance in Tokyo Drift feel almost deliberately cruel. Here's this pristine, perfect machine, Han's prized possession, being handed to a kid who's never drifted in his life, on a course that would challenge experienced drivers. The outcome was almost poetic in its tragedy. But let's talk about why the S15 deserved that reverence. The SR20DET engine under the hood, a 2.0-liter turbocharged inline-4, was already a legend in tuner circles long before the film. Responsive, tunable, and with an aftermarket ecosystem so deep you could spend years and never reach the bottom of it. Stock power sat around 247 horsepower, but the S15 platform was practically begging to be modified. And most serious builds could push into the 350 to 400 horsepower range with the right supporting modifications. The chassis was the real story though. The S15 was the final evolution of the Silvia platform, and Nissan refined everything that came before it. Tighter steering, retuned suspension geometry, and a rear-wheel drive layout that made it an absolute weapon in the hands of someone who knew how to use it. It was balanced in a way that made drifting feel like a conversation between driver and machine, rather than a fight. Han treating it like a Mona Lisa wasn't hyperbole. The S15 is genuinely one of the finest driver's cars Japan ever produced, and its scarcity in Western markets has only amplified the mystique over the years. Sean destroying one on screen remains one of cinema's most painful automotive moments. No debate. Number 3, 2003 Nissan 350Z DK's weapon of choice. If the RX-7 was cool, And the Silvia was precious, the 350Z was something else entirely. It was a threat. Takashi, better known as DK, drove a 2003 Nissan Fairlady Z33 in a custom deep metallic purple. Not a factory color, but a deliberate choice that looked like it was designed specifically to intimidate. And it worked. The Z33 generation was Nissan's return to form after years of relatively uninspired sports car offerings. The 350Z brought back everything that made Nissan dangerous in the performance world. Proper rear-wheel drive, a burly, naturally aspirated V6 producing 287 horsepower in stock form, and a chassis tuned for aggression rather than comfort. This was not a car that wanted to be your friend, it wanted to be fast. What makes the 350Z interesting as DK's car is the subtext. DK is the dominant force in the Shibuya drift scene, established, connected, and utterly convinced of his own superiority. The Z33 reflects that perfectly. It's not exotic or eccentric like the RX-7, it's established, powerful, and hard to argue with. It's a car that says, I've already won before the race starts. On the technical side, the VQ35DE engine that powered the Z33 became one of the most celebrated V6 configurations in Japanese automotive history. It was rev-happy linear in its power delivery and paired with a close ratio 6-speed manual that made every gear change feel purposeful. The car's long hood and short rear deck gave it classic sports car proportions, and the independent multi-link rear suspension gave it a composure in corners that surprised a lot of people who expected it to be a one-trick straight-line machine. The 350Z didn't need a movie to validate it, but Tokyo Drift cemented it as something more than just a great sports car. It made it an icon of street credibility, and that's a hard thing to manufacture. Either a car has it or it doesn't. The Z33 had it in abundance. If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe. We go deep on car culture every week and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Number 4, 2006 Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 9, the learning curve car. Here's where Tokyo Drift does something genuinely clever with its car choices. Han doesn't hand Sean a drift weapon to learn on. He hands him a 2006 Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 9, an all-wheel drive, rally-bred sedan that punishes mistakes less harshly than a rear-wheel drive platform. It's a practical choice wrapped inside a movie moment, and it rewards anyone paying close enough attention. The Evo 9 sits at the pinnacle of a lineage that started with the Galant BR4 and was sharpened through a decade of World Rally Championship competition. The 4 G63 turbocharged inline-4 engine, producing 286 horsepower in its final evolution form, was one of the most celebrated performance engines of its generation. It was strong, robust, and had proven itself under conditions that would dismantle lesser powertrains entirely. But what made the Evo 9 extraordinary wasn't raw power. It was the all-wheel drive system, specifically the active center differential and active yaw control setup that could actively distribute torque between wheels in real time. Together, these systems could rotate the car's body mid-corner with a precision that seemed to defy physics. For a beginner learning car control, it was the ideal tool, forgiving enough to build confidence, capable enough to reveal what real performance feels like when you start getting it right. There's something quietly touching about Han choosing this car for Sean. It wasn't a hand-me-down, it was a deliberate piece of mentorship disguised as a car transaction. The Evo 9 is how Han said, "I believe you can figure this out." And the car's motorsport DNA made it feel like every run was practice for something bigger. Number 5, 2001, Honda S2000, the pink dream in the crowd. And then there's this one, no major plot role, no hero moment, just a pink 2001 Honda S2000 sitting in the crowd at a drift meet, glowing under the lights, and somehow managing to steal every frame it appears in. The AP1 S2000 was Honda engineering at its most committed and uncompromising. The F20C engine it carried was, at the time of its release, the highest specific output naturally aspirated production engine on the planet, 240 horsepower from 2.0 liters with a 9,000 RPM redline. That number wasn't achieved through turbocharging or shortcuts. It was achieved through obsessive engineering precision. Honda built an engine that simply worked harder than anything else its size. The S2000 was rear-wheel drive, perfectly balanced, and came with a close ratio 6-speed transmission that rewarded drivers who knew how to use it. It was not an easy car. It demanded attention, commitment, and skill in exchange for an experience that few road cars at any price point could match. The high revving nature of the engine meant you had to chase power rather than have it handed to you. And that process of learning the power band was the entire point. The pink S2000 in Tokyo Drift doesn't have a speaking role. It doesn't need one. It's there as a reminder that the drift scene isn't just about the headliners. It's about the community of people who showed up in extraordinary machines, built something personal, and chose a parking garage over a couch on a Friday night. These 5 cars don't just make Tokyo Drift work, they make you want to drive. And that might be the highest compliment you can pay a movie about cars. Drop your favorite Tokyo Drift car in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more deep dives into the cars that make you fall in love with driving all over again. Until next time, keep it at the red line.